since that mind-blowing experience. My life was transformed. My consciousness opened up to another level. I went at a place called Siyustani, which is an Inca site, 25 minutes drive from Puno on Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, they say. And the reason I went to Siyustani is because a Peruvian guide who was going around Peru with me, he booked us into this hotel in Puno called the Siyustani. There's pictures of this place all over the bloody hotel. And when I was looking at these pictures, something was saying, go, you must go, you must go. And I walked around for about an hour, but the urge I felt to go there was not matched by the experience. I was looking at this hill. As I'm looking at it, all I can hear in my mind is, come to me, come to me, come to me. I walk up, not knowing what the heck is going on. I get up to the top, but there's these kind of stones there. And I walked into the center of a group of them. I'm standing on this hill in Peru under a piercing, cloudless sky. My feet being pulled to the ground like magnets. And I started to feel an energy going through me that way and out that way, out the top of my head and into the top of my head, through my feet into the ground. And I heard this, not voice, but very strong thought form out of nowhere. It said, 1, they'll be talking about this in 100 years. And 2, it will be over when you feel the rain. Then my arms go out at 45 degrees like that. I made no conscious decision to do that. And this energy built up and built up and built up. And you know when you drive a car and you can't remember the last 2 miles or so because your subconscious has been driving the car. I would have missing kind of conscious time, and then I would come back to consciousness. And I noticed at one of those points where I became conscious again, that over in the distant mountains, there was a light gray mist. And the light gray mist became a dark gray mist. And I thought, it's raining over those mountains. This rainstorm came out of the mountains towards me ridiculously quickly. And in the end, I'm standing there like that. And this wall of stair rod rain, I've described it as like pulling curtains across the sky, was coming towards me. By the time it hit me, you know, I'm like absolutely shaking with this energy. As soon as it hit me, absolutely soaked me in an instant, the energy stopped. Now my shoulders are raggedy. Now my legs are like Bambi trying to stand up. And I was in the midst of a total transformation of my consciousness, my awareness, my perceptions. And for 3 months, it was like vast amounts of information, concepts, things of all kinds are pouring into your conscious and subconscious mind that weren't before. Described it like this: you press too many keys on the computer at once, which is giving the computer too much information to process. Computer freezes. That was me for 3 months. And after 3 months, it was like the computer unfroze. Now I could see things and how things connected that I couldn't see before. This cult knows that. It wants to keep it from us, and the secret societies and the panic groups are there to isolate that knowledge about reality in their hands and to keep it from us. And so I came back and I started investigating mainstream science and all the different disciplines to see if this stuff would stand up. And what I found was that much of mainstream science, not least quantum physics, us already knows that physicality is an illusion. But because the different disciplines of what we call mainstream science don't talk to each other, indeed often compete with each other, what's happened since I started writing about this in the early 2000s is that more and more mainstream scientists are starting to come out and say the same. I was writing that this reality is digital holograms. That's what this physicality is. And then you had a guy like Rich Terrell, who's a computer scientist at NASA. And he came out a few years ago and said he'd concluded that our reality is a digital hologram. It's what I'd said years before in my books. And what we're seeing now is more and more mainstream scientists who are coming out and saying, actually, physicality is holographic. If you said to people, when you look through your eyes, can you see everything that exists in the space you're looking at? What they're going to say? They're going to say yes, but they can't. What we call the world is a ridiculously narrow band of frequency called visible light and the electromagnetic spectrum. And according to mainstream science, The electromagnetic spectrum and visible light, which is the only world reality that we can see, is a smear of the electromagnetic spectrum. Mainstream science says that that spectrum, never mind visible light, represents about 0.005% of what exists in the universe. We don't live in a world. We live in a band of frequency, which our body-brain decoding system can decode into a reality, a holographic reality. Infinity exists outside this narrow band of frequency, but we can't see it, just as when you're tuned to a radio station or a television station, you only experience that frequency, that station, that reality. What happens when you switch the zapper is you switch to a different, if you like, frequency, and you get a different reality instantly. We call them different channels. These different realities operate in different bands of frequency. And just like radio frequencies, etc., these bands of frequency, as long as they're not too close on the dial to each other when you get interference, they can share the same space without affecting all the others, and each one not even being aware that all the others exist. To understand what is going on, we have to have some understanding of the nature of reality. We are points of attention within the same infinite state of awareness, and that individuality that we experience is our individual point of attention. But we are all part of the same whole. We're all, if you like, droplets in the same ocean, and we are the droplet and we are the ocean. You look post mid-91 to present day and you'll see a completely different outcome in terms of information that's proved to be correct. If you look at computers and the technological Wi-Fi world we live in now, what you're looking at is a technological reality that mimics real reality, our experience reality, and how we create it. You've got a Wi-Fi field. Where is it? Where's the Wi-Fi field? Point it out to me. Well, I can't, because you can't see it, right? Now, if you didn't know about computers, and I said to you, there is a field of information that we're living in, like a sea, people would say, well, where is it? I can't see it. Therefore, it can't exist. But because people know about computers, you say, you know, there's a field of information and you can decode. Oh, yeah, I know about that. Wi-Fi, that's right. And the only difference between that's rubbish, mate, and, oh, yeah, I know about that, is knowledge. Knowledge of what you are experiencing and what you're talking about in terms of reality. So what does a computer do? You've got a Wi-Fi field full of information in the form of radiation, basically. And the computer decodes it onto the screen. And you say to people, tell me about the internet. And they say, oh yeah, well, it's pictures and graphics and text and all that stuff and websites. Yes, it is, but only on the screen. On the screen is the only place the internet exists in that form. Everywhere else, it's electronic codes and Wi-Fi. We decode reality in exactly the same way. The five senses take waveform information, think Wi-Fi, turns it into electrical information, feeds it to the brain, and there are different parts of the brain that specialize in decoding the different senses, and the brain decodes that electrical information into holographic digital information. And that is what we experience as the world around us. It's not around us, it's inside us, all of us. Just as the internet is inside this computer, and we look at it from afar. Say you're tasting something. You don't taste it with the tongue. You taste it via the tongue, which sends electrical information representing the taste frequency to the brain, which decodes it, and then it becomes yummy or that's horrible. There are now pain relief techniques used in hospitals where they stop the message going from the point of pain to the brain, because if they stop that, the brain cannot decode the message and you can't feel pain. Take the hearing senses. What's passing between us and what passes between all of us when we're communicating are not words, They're wave field, frequency fields generated by the vocal cords. And these are picked up by the ears that turn them into electrical information, feed it to the brain, and only when the brain decodes it do you hear words. It's all an illusion.
Please hit the red color subscribe button and share the video to spread the word. Also, watch our another video to get inspired.